This is a case study on the Cinderella movie, mostly because it's supposed to be empowering and diverse, and I found it to be nothing more than contrived and a failure in every way towards females, especially young females. So stay tuned. Have you seen the new Cinderella movie? And if you have, I want to know your opinion on the movie and on the topics that I'm going to bring up. Before we even begin, go to the description. I have something free for you that I think you're going to like. And also, please subscribe and ring the bell so that when I create new videos, we can connect. Now, this is a case study, and it's more focused on what the movie's trying to be. It's trying to be diverse, it's trying to be bold, and it's trying to be empowering. And I think it misses the mark every step of the way. So let's start with number one, Cinderella. Cinderella wants to be a seamstress, but we don't feel that passion right away. We only know it because a couple of times the camera zooms over to the wall with her sketchings, and once she creates a dress. She doesn't talk that much about why she wants to be a seamstress or what it will do for her life or anything. So we don't have any emotion towards Cinderella being a seamstress. In fact, for the most part, we really don't care if she wants to be a seamstress or she wants to bake or she wants to be a scientist. There's no emotional connection for us because she doesn't talk about it. Now, also she has a strange dynamic with her stepmother. And traditionally, the stepmother relationship is always pretty bad. This is pretty bad, but Cinderella seems oddly okay with it. She seems to have a glazed smile everywhere she goes in this movie, and you never really see her in too much of distress. It almost seems like, as an actress, she wants to seem pretty and happy all of the time, and so it's not very believable that she would even want to leave that situation. It's not that bad for her. Her dynamic with her stepmother and her stepsisters is actually not that bad. We don't see them interacting a whole lot, but we don't really see the stepsisters interacting together or with their mother. So it doesn't seem like it's anything more than a distant relationship where everyone gets to sort of live as they wish. Now, at the same time, the stepmother is incredibly toxic. But the part that bothers me is that in this movie, the stepmother is trying to pawn her daughters off, traffic them, if you will, to a creepy guy that comes to the door several times. Now, she barely knows the man, and the girls are clearly uncomfortable with him, clearly feeling objectified, and the stepmother wants one of them to marry this man. So it's basically trafficking, and Jeffrey Epstein could have been cast in that role. The stepmother's entire life hinges upon how men have treated her and the decisions that she's made with men. But we don't really see her becoming empowered. We just see her complaining about it and even using Cinderella as someone that she complains to. So she has a closer relationship with Cinderella than she does with her own daughters because she clearly states that she hasn't brought up these fears and regrets with anyone else but Cinderella. My other issue is with the way the stepsisters are being portrayed. So the sister that is thin and blonde should not be portrayed as a dumb blonde. The stepsister that is heavyset should not be portrayed as desperate. But yet, in this so-called empowering movie, that is exactly what happens. Mind you, these are stereotypes that women have been fighting for a long time. And yet this is a movie positioned to be empowering, and it's certainly not. And if you look beyond the stars and the stardust, all you see are a lot of discriminatory, stereotypical types of behaviors, like the prince. He's a young boy that Cinderella meets a couple of times, and he has voiced all through the movie that he just wants to be without obligation. He wants to be irresponsible. He enjoys being lazy, and yet this is exactly the guy that Cinderella falls for. Let's talk about the king. He comes off as this abusive, emotionally neglectful, power-hungry guy who is really just doing whatever he wants to do and hurting people's feelings along the way, and his wife just sort of enables him the whole time. Yet, when he has a change of heart, instead of just becoming stable and normal, he then goes to the other end of the spectrum and becomes a babbling idiot who love bombs. So both times, he's nothing more than a dysfunctional narcissist. But for some reason, we are taught through the movie that this is something that's good. This is a happy ending, that he becomes a covert, love-bombing narcissist. Let's talk about the queen, since she's enabling the whole thing. So she's a covert narcissist who is very distant herself, and also she's openly stating that she really only liked him when he was giving her tons of attention. So her covert narcissism is glaring as well. And towards the end, when he has a change of heart and starts basically doing whatever she wants, she then really lets the passive-aggressive fly, and her driving force through the whole movie is nothing more than to get him back by yelling to everyone that he's wrong, which at the end of the movie, she does. And that seems to be enough to make her happy, which is a total covert narcissism move. So the mother and father are a covert, anti-grandiose narcissist, and the child is also a covert narcissist who wants to do nothing. But yet this is what Cinderella wants in her life. So she's really just going from the narcissist, emotionally distant stepmother to the emotionally distant new parents-in-law to the lazy prince. But wait, there's more. There's more people telling her what to do in this movie. So now we have someone else in the movie telling her what to do and is dysfunctional. It is the fairy godmother. And the fairy godmother is actually a male. And I get it, he's there to be diverse. And I think it's good that there's diversity in this movie. However, in this day and age, with a remake of Cinderella that's supposed to be bold and empowering, do we really need another man to tell her how to dress and what the rules are for her happiness? Because that's exactly what this is all about. But once she gets to the ball, she meets someone, a woman who's a queen, who is clearly narcissistic, who then gives her an ultimatum, either be at the dock and leave with me tomorrow or tough for you. She's incredibly narcissistic, incredibly distant, and doesn't ask much of Cinderella other than what she can do for her. So again, we see the pattern where Cinderella's just going from narcissist to narcissist. But you know what? That is how real life is. And unfortunately, in this movie, it's not showing the empowering where she gets away from all of that and makes her way on her own. In fact, at the end of the movie, the prince decides that he's just going to leave with her and he's just going to follow her around. So while she's sewing for the narcissist boss, I guess he's just going to be singing and dancing because Cinderella is taking care of the prince now. Healthy, not so much. And then we have the mice, and all we really are getting from them are a lot of jokes about being fat and fat shaming. So there's that. And I get that one of the producers and one of the actors in the film battles with weight. I totally understand that. And his shtick is a lot of times talking about weight. But I think there's a time and a place to not talk about your issues through artwork all of the time, especially when you know children and teenagers are probably going to be your main audience. It's just all disempowering. It's just all very disempowering to anybody. In whole, I think it's a fun movie, but I don't think it's a positive movie, if that makes sense. So if you just want to be entertained, fine, but understand that anything that you listen to, anything that you digest emotionally will affect you in some way sooner or later. So if you continue being a part of sarcasm, which is just anger laced with a smile, or with disempowering narratives and conversations, pretty soon it's going to be something that you say isn't that big of a deal, but it is a big deal because you're probably struggling with some of the issues that are in this movie and you're wondering why you can't get past them. It's because you're accepting that these types of entertainment are okay, and they're not. And make no mistake that every step along the way in this movie is really a man telling a woman how she should live, or a man supporting a woman, or a man directing in some way the woman's mood or the way she sees herself. In no way in this movie is there ever, other than the narcissist boss, is there ever a female in this movie that's doing her own thing. In fact, the one person I did not even mention, because she's so minimal in this movie, is the princess, the sister of the prince, who is the only person who just wants to be her own person and wants to be boss. Does she get to do that in the end? Absolutely. But she's such a minor role in this movie that the biggest debut she has is that she's wearing a dress from Cinderella. And I feel like she should have been highlighted more than Cinderella. So I would love to see a remake of the prince's sister, not Cinderella. So I'd love to hear your views on the movie and your own case study and what you liked and what you didn't like and what you agreed with or what you didn't agree with what I said. Let's open a conversation about it. And I also want to state that from what I saw, every actor and actress that was in the movie is stellar normally. I feel like this movie didn't bring out the best of anybody that was in that movie. And I think that most of them will probably look back on this movie as an artistic regret. I don't think it showcased anyone's talent, whether it's acting, singing, or dancing. There was nothing in it that made me say, oh, I want to watch that again. So I'd love to hear your thoughts and who you think did the best job, who you think did the worst job, and what takeaways you got from not only maybe some of what I added, but what you had from the movie as well. Hey, and by the way, if you like free things, go to the description. I have something free for you. And also please subscribe and ring the bell so that we can stay connected.